Hello everyone. So in the previous session we have discussed about various types of demands and its quantities and how it is estimated, and about fire demand and what are the different demands for various cities, major cities around the globe. Okay. In today's class we shall discuss about the per capita demand. Okay. So what is meant by per capita demand or per capita consumption? Okay, it is the annual average quantity of water required by one person. Okay, so a person needs water for his various needs. Okay, that is his domestic needs, his industrial needs, his commercial needs, then public use, then losses. Considering all the demands whatever we have discussed in the previous class, so what is the total quantity of water required by per person per day is called as per capita demand. Okay, so that is, if X is the total quantity of water required by the city and Y is the total population, then per capita daily demand is given by X divided by Y divided by 365. That is per capita daily demand. That means it is also called as liters per person per day. So for one single day, how much water is required by each person. So this includes all the demands like domestic, industrial, commercial, public use, and the demand occurred for the losses. Okay, so what are the factors affecting this per capita demand? Okay, so this per capita demand varies from place to place, country to country, and region to region. Okay, and these are some of the factors which affects the per capita demand. So first one is size of the city. Okay, so that means if the size of the city is large, then the per capita demand will also be large, because it may contain many industries, it may contain many operations which may require water for their uses. Then it also depends on climatic conditions. Okay, so you might also have experienced that in summer we usually drink more water, and also we may require more water for street washings and other things. So otherwise in rainy season, so we will not usually use much water for street washing and all, and also we consume less water, so depending upon the climatic conditions. So by that way, the climatic conditions are also a factor which affects the per capita demand. Okay, then the type of community, custom, and habits of the people. Okay, so it also depends on the community, their customs, and their water usages. Okay, so that is, for example, in India, so you might have seen that we usually, most of the people in India wash their vehicles on particular days. So okay, it depends on the habits of the people. Like you might have also seen during the holy festivals or any other festivals of national importance, we generally use more water, and we also use water for for particular customs wherein water is used. So it also depends on the type of community, their customs, and also the habits of the people. For example, in US, Monday is known as the washing day, so wherein more amount of water is used on particular days. So likewise, it depends on the customs and habits of the people, and also standard of the living. Okay, so if the standard of the living of the people increases, then the water consumption also increases. Okay, so that means you might have seen that, so when you just take a simple bath using a bucket and a container, so you may actually require only around 20 to 30 liters of water, whereas so for the same thing, if you use a bathtub, you may be requiring around 100 to 150 liters of water. So just by the small changes like this in standard of living, so we may be using more or less water. So if you take urban community and a rural community, so there will be lot of changes with respect to per capita demand. So standard of living also affects the per capita demand. Then quality of water. So of water also is an important factor. That means if the quality of water is good, so we may be using more water, okay, so or vice versa. So pressure in distribution system. So we may be using more water, so if the pressure is more, so that is why nowadays you might have seen certain artificial pressure creating taps, so that you may feel that you are washing actually your hands with more water, which comes in some pressure along with some air, but actually the water usage is less. So when the pressure is more we may be using more water. Then sewerage facilities, okay, so this is also a factor which affects the per capita demand. Then system of supply, okay, if water can be supplied 24/7 continuously or intermittently. If the system of supply is continuous, then we may be using more water. If it is intermittent, like it is, you might have nowadays seen that in most of the cities there is no 24/7 water supply in India because of the less water resources, and for so many other reasons we are not having enough water supply to the we are not supplying enough water to the users or communities. Okay, if there is a continuous supply of water, then we may be using more water. Then metering, cost of the water is also important factor. So if you are spending more amount of money for the water which you receive, then naturally people tend to use less water. Then age of the community, it also depends on the age of the community. Then lawn sprinkling regulations, industrial and commercial activities. Okay, so these are all the factors which affects the per capita water demand. Okay, so here you can see that is the things which we have discussed. Then if there is the climatic conditions are like in hot conditions, we tend to use more water. If there are very good climatic conditions like during winter and rainy, we use the less water. And status and habits of the people, like I told you, if the standard of living of the people is rich, they may be using more water, and in rural areas and poor communities use the less water. Okay, so availability of sewerage system. Okay, so more water is used when there is a perfect sewerage system, so whereas less water is used when there is no sewerage system. And also it depends on the rate of the water. Okay, so more water is used. Okay, so if the cost is less, similarly less water is used if the cost is more. Okay, then type of water supply, if it is 24/7, more water is used. If the lesser water can be used if there is no intermittent supply of the water. Okay, so this picture shows the explanation for the factors affecting per capita demand. Okay, so here you can see the different countries on the x-axis and liters of water per person. Okay, so it is the annual per capita water consumption for these countries. Here you can see United States is the top water user with highest per capita demand. Okay, so whereas Canada is the second one, so Australia is the third, likewise Italy, France, Germany, Switzerland, Sweden, England and Denmark. Okay, so these are the per capita demand comparison, just to see how the standard of living affects the per capita water demand. Okay, so here this also gives the per capita water demand from the previous countries and also the other poorer and developing and underdeveloping nations. Here you can see in for India, so it is around up to 190 or 200 liters per capita demand as per this the reference. Okay, so likewise if you see some underdeveloped countries or developing nations like for Mozambique and Uganda, Ethiopia, Cambodia, Nigeria, so here their per capita demand is sometimes even lesser than 50 liters per person per day. So whereas if you see the developed nations, their water consumption per capita is almost 50 to 100 times more than the developing nation. So this is the huge variation among different countries and different regions worldwide based on their usage. So as per this graph, it is saying that so year wise the per capita water availability is getting decreased by this graph. Here you can see, so water availability in 2001 was this much. So in 2011, after 10 years, so slightly it has been dropped up to 14.92%. Okay, so similarly in 2015 it has dropped up to 4.6%. so now it is 2021, so it might have been still dropped because of the more population growth and less water resources. Okay, so this image shows the India's per capita annual water availability in meter cube per capita per year. So in 1951, so water availability was around 5000 meter cube per capita per year. So in 2001, so it has reduced almost half to that value. So it is less than 2000 meter cube per capita per year. In 2025, which is predicted value, so it will be even lesser, up to 1500 or so. In 2050, we may have to manage with very less per capita water. So this is the reason wherein many countries nowadays are adopting to the sustainable technologies, that is recycling and reuse of water, that is treating the wastewater to more effectively, so that we can use back the water into for our various purposes, and so that we can solve the crisis of the water. And also people are encouraging to use to recharge the natural groundwater, and also to collect the rainwater, and to store the rainwater by harvesting it in a proper manner, so that to satisfy the various water demands. And this is the state of affairs in our country. So each one of should be having enough awareness to save this precious resource, that is water, which is depleting with respect to quantity as well as quality. Okay, and this figure shows you variations of demand. So in the x-axis you can see the number of hours in a day. In y-axis you can see hourly demand in liters per hour. Okay, so here you can see the two peaks in the early morning and in the late evenings. Okay, so that means, so people use more water from 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. in a day. Okay, so because this is the time wherein lot of people have the more number of activities. That means people will get up, have their bath, they use their washrooms, and they do various activities, and before going to work or a school or a college. Okay, so this is the time wherein people use more water, and after some time the it starts to drop down, because the less water will be consumed in this time zone, that is from 12 to almost 4 to 5 in the evening. Okay, so the water consumption will be less. Again in the evening from 4:30 to up to 10, the water usage will be more. That is, people will come back to their houses again. They may have the activities like cooking, washing, washing clothes, washing utensils, and all those things. So again there will be a higher usage of water, and this is how there will be variations in the consumption of the water throughout a day. Okay, you can see the two peaks, one in early morning and one in late evening. Seasonal variation will also happen. So that means the demand peaks during summer, and also fire breakouts generally will be more in summer because of some issues like short circuits, or sometimes the fire will catch when there is any dry material or wooden logs, or which might be stored somewhere, because of the higher temperature. So there is more fire breakouts which have been seen in the past in summers. So there is a more fire demand in summer, and also there is a seasonal variation. So in spite of the hourly variation which you have seen, you might also see the seasonal variation, and these things are required to properly plan the water supply scheme, that is various types of the variations. And also you might see the daily variation. It depends on the activity of the people. That means people draw out more water on Sundays and festival days, thus increasing demand on these days. That the water planners should be aware of the variations of this demand, so that to properly supply the water effectively for the users. So that means on Sundays people have many activities, like they wash their vehicles and they consume more water and they spend more time in indoors. So there may be more requirement of water on Sundays. Okay, and also on festival days, people wash their vehicles and they consume more water, and then they invite guests. Okay, and because of that there may be more usage of water, and that is called as the daily variation. Similarly, we also have seen the hourly variation. So that means in the previous graph we have seen that, so there will be two peaks in our household activities, that is on one peak from early 6 to 10 in the morning and 4 to 8 in the evening. So that means more of water is consumed in those time periods. During other hours the requirement is less. Okay, so that is called as the hourly variation. Okay. Sometimes if there is a fire breakout, a huge quantity of water is required to be supplied during a very short duration, because to extinguish the fire, so we may require huge quantity of water. That means you might have seen the tankers will come on, 2 to 3 tankers will come with around 600 to 6,000 to 8,000 liters capacity, and they will pump the water and they will spray the water on the fire to extinguish the fire, and that quantity of water will be very huge. And all these things should be taken into account while designing the water supply scheme. Okay, so in order to address this, so we should be able to supply water to the peak demand. Okay, to meet all the fluctuations, the supply pipes, the service reservoirs and distribution pipes must be properly proportioned. That means we are supplying the water from a source, okay, by treating it, and we have to supply to the end users. Considering all these demands into account, we have to properly decide the sizing of the water treatment units. In a water treatment plant, you might be having the underground pipelines, which a complex network, and the different types of control valves, air relief valves, etc. All those things should be properly planned considering the various types of demands and the variations in the demand, which you have seen in the previous slides. Okay, then the water is supplied by pumping directly, and the pumps and distribution system must be designed to meet the peak demand. Okay, so we design the water supply schemes for the peak demand. Okay, so that means, so considering all the requirements, the variations, so this water supply scheme should be designed for the peak water demand. That means our pipes diameter, the discharge, the pressure in the distribution system, and the pumps, its capacity in HPs, all those things should be designed for the peak water demand. Okay, the effect of monthly variation influences the design of storage reservoirs, and the hourly variation influences the design of pumps and service reservoirs. Okay, so the storage reservoirs are the one wherein we will temporarily store the water for supplying the water to the community for up to 2 or 3 months. Okay, so generally what happens, we use the water, we draw the water from the rivers, and as you know, most of the rivers are not perennial in nature. That means, so they won't be flowing full to their full capacity. So whenever there is no or very scanty rainfall, the river dries up. Okay, so at that time what we do is we will try to extract the water whenever the river is flowing full, and we will store them in some reservoir which is called a storage reservoir, and those reservoirs will be used as a supply of the water. Okay, and in designing all these storage reservoirs, the monthly variations are required, because what happens is generally we will store the water whenever there is a rainy season, or after a period of a rainy season we will draw the water from the flowing rivers and we will store the water for the supplying water during the summer season, because whenever the river dries up we cannot extract the water. So the storage reservoir will be used, and that will be for a period of 3 to 4 months. Okay, and again whenever the rainfall occurs, we'll extract the water and we'll supply the water. So hence in designing the storage reservoirs, the monthly variations plays a significant role. And also to supply the water, okay, the hourly variations are important. So because we have to pump the water from long distances, so that with equal pressure should be maintained in the distribution system, so that all the users get the good amount of water with proper pressure. So the pumps, design of pumps depend upon the hourly variations. Okay, so it is possible to go further from a daily demand to hourly demand. Okay, so as you have seen, the water usage in a day is not constant, and generally we have seen the two peaks, that is one in early morning and one in late evening. Okay, so this, considering this, the annual average demand, okay, there needs a holistic and macro scale analysis which can be used to actually calculate the exact demand. Okay, so for most of the yearly demand will not give a true picture, and hence we have seasonal demands which are also not proper. Okay, so because the seasonal wise it is a very huge bandwidth, so that we cannot actually it will not give a true picture, and also yearly demand will also not give a true picture. So the main reason why we delve as much into hourly demand is for design aspects of pipes. Okay, so because the pipe should be designed for the hourly demand. Okay, so we cannot decide the pipelines based on the seasonal demand or also on the annual water demand. Okay, so for most of the water supply schemes and water supply appurtenances, we will go for the hourly demand. Okay, so for the design aspects. Okay, so although the seasonal and hourly demand, the yearly demand are important, but for design purposes, so we will take the hourly demand into account. Okay, so usually the design of units is for maximum demand rather than average. Okay, so we'll see what is this maximum demand, average demand and peak demand in the next slides. Then these are some of the terminologies used in the water demands. The first one is called as average annual demand. Okay, so this is the total volume of water delivered to the system in a full year expressed in liters. When demand fluctuates up and down over several years, an average is used. Okay, so this is called as average annual demand. Okay, the total volume of the water required to the system in a per year in liters. Okay, so then we have average daily demand, abbreviated as ADD, the total volume of water delivered to the system over a year divided by 365 days. The average use in a single day expressed in liters. That means how much water is used in one day, that is called as average daily demand. Okay, so it is also called as ADD, the total volume of the water delivered to the system over a year divided by 365 days. That is, we in a year we have 365 days, so that's why we will divide it for 365 days to get the water for one day. Okay, then maximum monthly demand, the liters per day average during the month with the highest water demand is called as the maximum monthly demand. The highest monthly usage typically occurs during a summer month, like we have discussed in the previous slide that during summer we use more water. Then peak weekly demand, the greatest 7-day average demand that occurs in a year expressed in liters per day is called as peak weekly demand. We can also get the weekly demand. That means we have discussed that on Sundays we use more water, so that might be considered for designing the supply schemes. Maximum daily demand, the largest volume of water delivered to the system in a single day expressed in liters per day is called as maximum daily demand. The water supply, treatment plant and transmission lines should be designed to handle the maximum daily demand. Okay, so this is the important aspect. We will design most of the water treatment schemes, the pipelines and all, for the maximum daily demand. Okay, so that is the, like I told you, in a day we use more water in early morning and late evenings, so in that, so that may be the maximum daily demand. So the liters which is consumed in a in early morning and late evening in a day, so whichever is the maximum, that is called as maximum daily demand. Then we also have peak hourly demand, the maximum volume of water delivered to the system in a single hour expressed in liters per day. The distribution system should be designed to adequately handle the peak hourly demand or maximum day demand plus the fire demand, whichever is greater. So during peak hourly flows, storage reservoirs supply the demand in case of maximum daily demand. Okay, so that means sometimes in a particular day, so there is called as peak hourly demand. So water demand may be more in particular hours in a day. Okay, and sometimes we may also have to add the fire demand to that, so that is called as the peak hourly demand. Okay, so these are different types of terminologies used in the water design of water supply systems. So in this, all are important, but you have to mainly concentrate on average daily demand, maximum daily demand and peak hourly demand, because these are the things which are taken into consideration for the design of water supply treatment units. Okay, here you can see the relationship between various types of demand. Maximum daily demand is given by 1.8 times of annual average daily demand. Okay, so this is MDD, maximum daily demand. Similarly, maximum hourly demand is given by 1.5 times of average hourly demand. Okay, so maximum hourly demand is given by 2.7 times of annual average daily demand. Maximum monthly demand is given by 1.4 times of annual average daily demand. Okay, so maximum seasonal demand is given by 1.3 times of annual average daily demand. So coincident draft or demand is equal to maximum daily demand plus fire demand. Okay, so this is the relationship between various kinds of the demands and the multiplying factor. So maximum hourly demand of maximum day, that is peak demand, is given by 1.5 times of average hourly demand or 1.5 times of maximum daily demand divided by 24 or 1.5 times of 1.8 into average daily demand divided by 24 or 2.7 into average daily demand divided by 24 or 2.7 into annual average hourly demand. Okay, so these are the relationship between the various types of the variations in the demand. Okay, so peak water use estimation is given by the Goodrich formula. Okay, so it estimates maximum demand based on time period for which maximum water demand is desired for community. Okay, so when annual average per capita is given, then population, and then P is equal to 180 into T to the power of minus 0.10, where P is percentage of average annual rate, that is volume per day used in period of time of interest. So T is equal to length of period for which peak demand is required. Okay, so the daily rate based upon a maximum hour is approximately equal to 150% of average annual daily rate. Okay, so this is the Goodrich formula for estimation of average daily rate. Okay, so this is the example to find out the the fire demand. So the fire flow of 30,000 liters per minute, or it is in terms of discharge in meter cube per second, must be maintained for at least 9 hours. The volume to supply the fire demand is given by, so V fire is equal to, so the discharge multiplied by 9 hours into 3600 seconds per hour. Okay, so that is given by, that is equal to 2,100 meter cube. Okay, the emergency storage can be taken as the average daily demand. So that is V emergency is given by, so this 2,50,000 people, okay, into 600 liters per day per capita is equal to 150 into 10 raised to power 6. Okay, that will be equal to 1,50,000 meter cube. The required volume of the service reservoir can be estimated by, so V total volume is equal to V peak plus V fire plus V emergency. So that is equal to 67,500 plus 2,100, then 1,50,000 meter cube. Then totally that will be equal to 2,37,600 meter cube. And for this capacity we have to decide the storage reservoir. Like I told you, we have to decide the storage reservoirs. So considering fire demand also into account. So whenever we need water for extinguishing fire, so along with the regular water demand, so we will take the emergency storage and also the fire demand into account for deciding the service reservoir. Okay, so design period and population forecast. Okay, so this quantity should be worked out with due provision for the estimated requirements of the future. The future period for which a provision is made in the water supply scheme is known as design period. In the previous slide, slides we have discussed that the water supply schemes are usually designed for 3 to 4 decades, that is for 30 to 40 years. Okay, so for that we need to take care the future period. That period is called as the design period. That means here you can see we have to store the water and we have to supply the water. So this is the reservoir here and this is the water which is stored. So the water should be treated, then it has to be supplied from the water supplies department to the users. And all these units, the construction of these dams and reservoirs and all those things for water supply system, it involves huge cost and investment. So the careful planning must be made to design the water supply schemes. Okay, so a water supply scheme involves the construction, installation and commissioning of several units and large structures and peripherals and few underground structures. Okay, so these are not usually easy to replace, repair or expand at a very short notice. Hence, and water supply schemes are usually meant for the town looking at its futuristic rate of the growth. Okay, it is most viable to construct or set it inclusive of all expansions. That is, the units must be laid larger than the current requirements, hence which should also satisfy the future demands. Okay, hence when the units are designed, okay, it will be taken that the present population and the future population will be predicted, and the future population the predicted, it should not be too long and it should not also be too short. Okay, hence an optimal life of the component structure should be taken into account. That is, for usually water supply schemes, the design period is 30 years or 3 decades. This means that the countdown of 30 years starts only after completion of the construction, that is after installation and commissioning only. Okay, so once you finish all the construction of the water supply units, treatment units and all, that from that time onwards the design period starts, and it should be usually of 30 years for water supply schemes. And this design period should not be too short and also it should not be too large. Okay, because if it is too short, we will be designing very small pipelines, small pumping units, small walls and all, which may not satisfy the requirement. And if you decide it as a too long, then the pipe's diameter may be more and the pressure may not be sufficient, and you may be spending more amount for pumping less quantity of water with a high power cost and all. So a careful design period has to be estimated based on the different factors. Okay. Then design period is estimated based on these following. Okay, the useful life of the component considering obsolescence, wear and tear, etc. The expandability aspect, that means how much the expandability aspect is there. So whenever a water supply scheme is planned, so there may be some industrial growth or some other kind of growth which is happening in the area. The anticipated rate of growth of population, so there could be some addition of new industries, development of commercial establishments, and also people migrate. Right, you might have seen during COVID many people have migrated from different places, so in search of food, in search of jobs, Okay, so this migration and birth rate, death rate is also important in deciding the design period. The development of the area, all those things will come into picture when you are designing a water supply scheme. And the available resources, that is important, available resources in terms of water and also the financial resources. If you are supplying a water supply scheme, finance and the resources are very important factor which should be taken into consideration before designing a water supply scheme. Then performance of the system during initial period, how the system is going to perform during its initial days. Okay, so that is also important in designing the design period. Okay, the life of the component, that means the what kind of pipe material you are selecting, what is the life of those pipes, and what are the pumps you are using, and what is the life of those pumping units. So when you should change the pumps, and all those things should be considered for the design of this thing. Okay, so these are some of the design period for various water supply system works, okay, which is given here. For storage reservoirs, the design period is of 50 years. Since here you can see there is a reservoir is just a structure, you don't have any pipes, or you don't have any pumping units or electrical parts, so the design period is usually more up to 50 years. Then you have infiltration works like intake structures and other structures, the design period is of 30 years. So you have pipe connections, that is for 30 years. For distribution systems it is 30 years or 3 decades. For water treatment units it is 15 years. So water treatment units consist of the screening units, which are made up of mild steel. You have locomotory and moving parts, so made up of some electromechanical components, and there could be frequent wear and tear, and it needs replacement because most of the units are submerged in the water, and that's the reason the design period is relatively less for water treatment units and electrical motor and pumps. Okay, so because if you use pumps for more than 5 or 10 years, its efficiency starts to decrease. So hence, for this reason, the maximum design period is of 15 years. Usually for pumps it will be 5 or 6 years maximum. So we should start to replace the pump because the efficiency starts to reduce after 5 or 6 years. So careful consideration has to be made before designing the design period. So otherwise, usually for most of the water treatment plants, so you can take it as 3 years or 3 decades, except the water treatment units and the pumping units. Okay, so so that is these are some of the factors, that is the financial liabilities. If we have less money, then design period can also be small, as you cannot invest on more construction materials, and also if rate of interest is less, then there will be high design period. Then expected development and changes in population and influence of commercial industrial growth, that is if population growth is less, go for a high design period. That means if you see a constant population growth, then we can go for a higher design period up to 40 years or 50 years. And if there is rapid commercial growth and industrial growth, and if there is a sudden surge in the population, then we should keep the design period as 30 years or minimum. Okay, so it is very difficult to predict all those changes, because nowadays the world is changing rapidly, but still we can have some futuristic idea and futuristic scope, and some vision for the future. Considering that in mind, we have to decide the design period, because we have to spend lot of money for these all infrastructure facilities for the design of water supply schemes, including pipelines, concrete structures, dams, reservoirs, pumps. Then we have to do lot of excavation, we have to damage the roads sometimes, then we have to backfill the earth. So it involves lot of construction activities and all those things. So careful calculation has to be made before deciding the design period. And it is demand supply challenges are huge, and design of water supply scheme requires smart approach. Okay, we can conclude this lecture by using this quote. That means the demand and supply challenges are very huge. That means sometimes we may be having more demand, and sometimes we may be having very less demand, and these are very dynamic in nature. So it requires really a very smart approach to design a proper water supply scheme, satisfying all the requirements of the users, and as well as at the same time we should do it economically without causing much financial burden. Okay, so to summarize, we have discussed about the per capita demand, what are the factors which affects per capita demand, and what is design period, and what is the design period for different water structures, and what are different types of demands, like peak demand, monthly demand, average daily demand, maximum daily demand. In all those things, you try to concentrate more on average daily demand and maximum daily demand and maximum peak hourly demand, so which are usually required for design of the water supply schemes. So maybe we will use these terms again while solving some numerical problems, so that you should keep those things in mind. Okay, so let's end this session and let's meet up in the next class.